Shabbat Shalom, folks. Welcome to Temple Ahavat Shalom. Great to have you with us on this Friday evening before Thanksgiving week. Welcome to all of you relaxing at your house and joining us for Shabbat. So glad that you're here with us. I'm Rabbi Matt Berger. Right next to me is our soloist, Allison Rosoff, down at the piano. And you'll be hearing her singing as well today, Joy Katzen-Guthrie. We're going to begin our Shabbat service with the words of Hine Matov Umanayim, how good it is, words of Psalm 133. We're on page 10 if you're following along in your prayer books. Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad How good it is to be together. How good it is to be together. How good it is to be together. Whoa, 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 whoa. Going to continue with Light These Lights, getting us in the spirit of lighting the Shabbos candles.
Oh, hear my prayer I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh,
Hear my prayer to you.
Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
Find the blessing for lighting the Shabbos candles on 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
Share with you 3 haikus written by Ed Nickow for this week's Torah portion, Vayishlach, and Jacob sent messengers. Here's the first one. Jake wrestles stranger, Esau's guardian angel. Was it a man? God. And the second one. Or could it have been Jacob's own inner conflict about his brother? And the final one. Jacob thinks it's God. He names the place Peniel, which means divine face. 3 lovely haikus, which give you a pretty good insight into what's happening and some of the conflict and excitement brewing in the weekly portion. We're going to continue now on page 14. We're going to be singing Or Zarua La Tzaddik, light is sown for the righteous, the words of Psalm 97. Or Zarua La Tzaddiku ish Relev Simcha. Or Zarua La Tzaddiku ish Relev Simcha. Simechu tzadikim b'Adonai, b'Adonai, v'holdu b'zecher kodsho, b'zecher kodsho. Or Zarua La Tzaddiku ish Relev Simcha. Or Zarua La Tzaddiku ish Relev Simcha. That arrangement by Rick Recht has a beautiful melody to it, I think. Going to continue with our segue to Shema and its blessings, the words of Chatzi Kaddish found on the screens before you or on page 26, words of praise.
Yitkadav, yitkadav shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
B'ma divrach yurtei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv v'imaru amen. Yishmei Rabba mevarach le'alam olam me'amaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudesha brichu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damir ram be'ama v'yimaru amen.
Let's rise. We'll turn to the words of the call to prayer, the Barhu, on page 28. Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai Praise Adonai, the Holy One. Praise Adonai, the Holy One. Baruch Hu et Adonai, Hamevorah. Baruch Adonai, Hamevorah, Olam Vahed. Praise Adonai, the Holy One. Praise Adonai, the Holy One. Praise Adonai, the Holy One. Feel free to join me as we continue on 31, Ma'ariv Aravim, a prayer for creation and the evening. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. On the bottom of 33 words of great love, Ahavat Olam. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. The more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Let's sing Open Up Our Eyes together. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live.
Fill our hearts with joy
And all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Shem kivod malchuto le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem kivod malchuto le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem kivod malchuto le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem kivod malchuto le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Feel free to be seated and join us as we chant the V'ahavta. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha Ukshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu latotafot bein einecha, uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru, basitem et kol mitzvotai, v'item kedoshim le'elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Let's continue on 39, words of truth and faith. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we are taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Tehilo, Ose, Fele, Nora, Tehilo, Ose, Fele. bottom of page 40, thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob, who we read about this week, from a hand stronger than his own. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Going to sing Ma Tovu's arrangement of Hashkivenu. You'll find the words on the screen or on page 42. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, shalom. Amidenu shomreinu echayim. Vros aleinu sukat shlomecha, vros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us between wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Let's rise now for the tefillah, our standing prayers, which begin on page 46 and continue on even pages.
Adonai sifatai tivtachu fi hilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imaot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer, U'Moshia U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Vezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol, Atah Rav Leoshia, Mashiva Ruach Umarida Gashem, Mechachel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Nofim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umechayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמנת לך חיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יעלוך סלה. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Feel free to be seated. We'll continue with the blessings in between, in the middle of the tefillah. First, for the sanctity of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. A prayer asking that God's presence will always be with us and with Israel. Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato l'tzion. Blessed are you, God, whose presence returns to Zion. And for gratitude, which we'll all celebrate next Thursday on Thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha u'hana'eh lechodot. And our seventh and final blessing in the tefillah is always for peace, for shalom. Grant peace to Israel, your people, forever. You are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael. Shalom. Take a few moments for our own thoughts and prayers, and you'll hear the words of Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim.
We'll now turn our thoughts and prayers to healing. You'll find the words of Misha Berak, God, the one who blesses those who are ill, on the middle of 253. And on this Shabbat, especially, we think of the following individuals for prayers of strength and healing. Yonatan Reuven ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Rochelle Brudney, Janice Kane, Lisa Cargile, Manuel Cruz, Eddie Deerfield, Evelyn Edelman, Heather Felser, Brad Fischelow, Sue Fischelow, Harry Fleisch, Denise Freifeld, Jerry Gottlieb, Leah Gottlieb, Priscilla Harris, Doris Harding, Arthur Maller, Bob Masarski, Arnold Miller, William Miller, Hal Rosenberg, Stephanie Ross, Eddie Seligman, Joel Shapiro, Arlene Charlotte, Betty Slavny, Jeff Stark, Gabe, and Edward Zisman. Are there any other names to add?
my father, George Stark.
Mi sheberach avoteinu mikor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our life a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha leavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Mr. Katz was a kindergarten teacher at the local Jewish day school. And one day during his art lesson, he was walking around the classroom observing the children as they were doodling or drawing. But he saw something interesting at little Bitzalel's desk, so he stopped. Bitzalel was working away really diligently. Mr. Katz asked him, "So, Nu, what are you working on?" Bitzalel replied, I'm drawing God, teacher." Mr. Katz paused for a moment, then he said, "But no one really knows what God looks like, Bitzalel." Without missing a beat or looking up at all from his work, Bitzalel replied, "They sure will in a minute." There's an old Jewish saying recorded in the Bible that says a person's name can tell a lot about his or her character. In Hebrew, it's called Kish Shemo Kain Hu, which means like his name, so is he, or like her name, so is she. So if we take our budding artist as an example, Bitzalel literally means one who's in the shadow of God. Now, by itself, it doesn't tell us that much, but when we take into account that Bitzalel was the chief artisan in charge of creating the Ark of the Covenant and the portable sanctuary, the tabernacle, his name makes a lot more sense. Because in a way, kind of like Moses, he was God's right-hand man, building God's house. Some might even say that Bitzalel's name foretold his future. Virtually every name in the Bible has the same quality. And it's certainly the case in this week's Torah portion, Vayishlach, which opens with our patriarch Jacob sending messengers ahead of his party. The text describes a very important meeting that would soon take place between Jacob and his twin brother Esau. Jacob's return to the Holy Land after being away from the Holy Land for 20 years proves to be a very complex experience of confrontation, anxiety, and ultimately reconciliation. But first, we need some backstory. How did we arrive at this crossroads? It all began with a name, Jacob. In Hebrew, it's Yaakov, which means heel, because Jacob came into the world grabbing onto his slightly older brother's heel. This made him the younger of the two. However, another meaning of the name Yaakov is one who supplants or deceives another person. Rashi had that idea about 900 years ago. And it's this name that speaks to the reality that Jacob got the best of his twin Esau not once, but twice. In the first case, when the kids were growing up, Esau bartered his inheritance for some of that red stuff because he was hungry, the lentil stew. And in the second case, when their father Isaac was older, Jacob almost literally pulled the wool over his father's eyes yet again, because Jacob stood before Isaac in Esau's place with animal skins covering his arms to match Esau's hirsute or hair-covered skin. Evidently, Isaac's cataracts were so bad that he mistakenly gave his final blessing to his younger son, once again upsetting the role of the primogenitor, the natural order of things, where the eldest always takes precedence. Now, 20 years later, Jacob's about to meet his brother Esau, and he has a restless night. Not a surprise, especially considering the mishigas that transpired between them when they were younger. Not only that, there was the fact that Esau had 400 armed men with him. Here we learn that a man wrestled with Jacob until the break of dawn. And theories abound regarding this wrestler. Some believe it was an actual person, which is more along with the Hebrew, which is ish, which means a man, or more generally a person, that this person wrestled with Jacob. Others believe it was a malach, an angel. Finally, some believe Jacob was in reality just wrestling with himself, or more specifically, his evil inclination, because many Jewish sages believe that all of us have both a good inclination, a yetzer tov, as well as an evil inclination, a yetzer hara. And every day, whether we're conscious of it or not, we mediate between the two before we act. In any case, the struggle continues throughout the night, and as dawn begins to break, the man or angel or part inside Jacob himself wants to let Jacob go. And he says, "Ganug," I'm paraphrasing, "enough already with the wrestling." But Jacob resisted, and he didn't let him go until he was given a blessing. And at this critical point, we come to learn that Jacob, the one who grabbed his twin brother's heel and deceived him twice, becomes Yisrael, one who struggles with a divine being and prevails. And that's our name as Jews. All of this, it can be said, was foretold by Jacob's name. Whether we're talking about his given name, Yaakov, or his additional name, Yisrael, which God personally gave to him. The Israeli poet Zelda may well have had Jacob's story in mind when she wrote her beautiful poem, L'Kol Ish Yesh Shem. Each of us has a name given by God and given by our parents. Each of us has a name given by our stature, our smile, and given by what we wear. Each of us has a name given by the mountains and given by our guilt. Each of us has a name given by the stars and given by our neighbors. Each of us has a name given by our sins and given by our longing. Each of us has a name given by our enemies and given by our love. Each of us has a name given by our celebrations and given by our work. Each of us has a name given by the seasons and given by our blindness. Each of us has a name given by the sea and given by our death. This poem, widely recited both on Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Memorial Day, and Yom HaZikaron, Israeli Fallen Soldiers Remembrance Day, was likely inspired by a midrash or commentary found in a book called Kohelet, or Ecclesiastes Rabbah, which speaks to three names: the one given by our parents, the one people know us by, and the one we acquire for ourselves. The idea that a name can embody who we are and perhaps who we aspire to be was front and center on the television screen when I was growing up. It was something of a local show for me because it took place in Boston in a basement just 90 minutes from where I grew up. But just about everyone watched it. It was called Cheers. You might remember the opening theme song. Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taken away from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can be. Our troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name. I did contact Joy earlier today to see if she might play it on piano, but evidently she didn't get the message. But no problem. Hope you liked it a cappella anyway. Well, thank you so much. So in the early 1980s, Gary Portnoy and Judy Hart Angelo set out to write a theme show. They were hired to do this for Cheers. Their first two attempts at the song failed, but the third, Where Everyone Knows Your Name, not only made the cut, but it made his career. It's often said that the right song can support a songwriter for his or her whole life, and for Gary Portnoy, it did. And in doing so, he became one of the world's most famous singers nobody knew the name of. Yet the song helped make Cheers a weekly part of American life for millions of people for over a decade, with great acting to boot. In the beginning, Portnoy and Angelo didn't get a single cent for the song. As Gary recalled, it was recorded on a little label called Applause Records. It was supposed to have a big producer, but that fell through. Maybe that's more like applesauce. And by the time the song was a hit, he said, there were so many creditors that the label just shut down and declared bankruptcy. But the label, right before it closed, gave Portnoy and Angelo something far more valuable, the master recording, the LP, the 45. Which means that anybody who wanted to use a song had to contact him and pay, both of them, for the license. Portnoy never thought a single song would determine the direction of the rest of his life, but it did. In fact, he called this song the greatest and most amazing blessing of his life. Every one of us wants to belong to something. We want people to know our name. Next week on Thanksgiving, hopefully we'll celebrate a good meal and give thanks that we belong to our family, even with all of its complicated relationships, which may very well resemble the family lives and mishigas of our patriarchs and matriarchs. I also believe that most, if not all of us, want to acquire a good name. This is called having a shem tov in Hebrew. In our tradition, having a good name or a positive reputation is considered the pinnacle achievement of life. In a section of the Mishnah called Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers or Ancestors, the rabbis speak about crowns. The crown of Torah, which refers to learning. The crown of priesthood, which refers to the Levites who served in the temple in Jerusalem long ago. And then there's the crown of sovereignty, which recognizes that we're all created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. But the crown of a good name, a shem tov, we're told exceeds them all. Hopefully our lineage and our family helped instill positive values and a sense of where we came from. Through the years, many of us have attained wisdom by learning about what is good and right. But more than anything else, it's our reputation that will have the most influence. I'd like to think that all of us have a bit of Jacob and Israel within us, Yaakov and Yisrael. We're all capable of doing great things, and we're all capable of deception. But making the choice to have a good name, that is ultimately up to every one of us. Shabbat Shalom. Continue with Aleinu, the Adoration, on page 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני נלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Be seated. We'll continue with the words of Mourner's Kaddish, Kadishatom, that you'll find on the screens as well as on page 294, if you have a Siddur prayer book in front of you. We first think of families and friends in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days mourning a loved one. So we remember Steve Perez, friend of the Rosa family, and Don Hull, friend of Tom and Dorsey Rose. We also mark the yahrzeit anniversary of passing of loved ones with a sense of love and affection. On this Shabbat, we remember Harry Bierman, Faye Rosen Bolanek, Charles Bornstein, Jenny Brindis, Alto Burrows, Philippe Castillo, Bertha Charkins, Sandra Cutler, Stanley Freifeld, Jack Goldstone, Stephen Gliboff, Marion Goldberg, Sally Haber, Samuel Cadies, Liba Katz, Joseph Klein, Janice Kornfeld, Irving Larish, Albert Lesser, Michael Lowett, Morris L. Newman, Gabrielle Oren, David M. Reisberg, Barbara Rifkin, Rose Rosenthal, Doris Sayoff, Sidney Shear, Sybil Smith, Joseph Stith, and Eureka Teitelroyd. Are there any other names to add for yahrzeit? Please. Zichronam livracha, may all of these good people continue to be a blessing in each of their loved ones' lives as we rise to offer the words of Kaddish praise together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agalav v'zman kariv imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'alam ulamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shemei dekudashah b'richu. La'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'yoma v'imru, amen. Hey shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, imru, amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, and the world, to which we say, amen.
Vimiru, 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 amen. Vimiru, 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 amen.
Feel free to be seated. You'll find the words to Shabbat Kiddush on the screen or on page 5 for the fruit of the vine. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, b'avahu ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom tehillah, lemikrahei kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'akarta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ava uvratzon, inchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-shabbat. Amen. L'chaim, to life. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. All right, firstly, thank yous. Thank you to Joy and to Allison for their beautiful music. Our tech crew in the back, Steve Koenigsberg and Brad Wexler. Next Friday, Steve and Michelle Koenigsberg, along with Joy, will be leading services. I'm taking a little vacation and R&R. I'll be leading after Thanksgiving break a new adult ed series on November 30th, December 7th, and December 14th at noon, subject Jewish ethics. Our next intergenerational Lador Vador service celebrating Shabbat and Hanukkah is Friday, December 3rd. It's going to be really cool. 6:45, bring your own menorahs in the social hall, and we'll light them. And we'll make our way in here in the sanctuary for a lively Hanukkah-filled service at 7 p.m. And that same weekend, on Sunday, December 5th, we have what's called a Hanukkah happening. We're going to have 2 live singing concerts with myself, Harriet Zazzaro, and Mike Skalka. They do the music for our religious school. Then Brotherhood, I know, is giving us a whole bunch of sufganiyot, which are the oily donuts that we need on Hanukkah. 2 inflatables. In reality, we actually have 3. So let me tell you the story about that. We have a big bear, it's like 6 feet. Then we have another dreidel, which is 8 feet. We didn't get the stakes for one of them. So Tammy, our educator, called, and now we have a new bear. So we have 2 8-foot bears and a 6-foot dreidel. So I think that should cover us for that particular Hanukkah happening. So that should be a lot of fun, and that's going to be in the temple parking lot right out front. And right after our closing song, our final prayer, and service concludes, for those of us in here, we're going to have a great outdoor oneg right outside of the sanctuary foyer. And we have a special treat for our closing song. I don't think we've done, even since I've been here on a Friday night, Adon Olam, which of course is a classic, and it's on page 321. Very easy to remember in your prayer book. You are our eternal God, and this, in all likelihood, is going to be a new arrangement that was written years ago by a great Jewish songwriter. She does get the royalties for this and is credited, Ellen Allard. And this is a really lively version, so hopefully you'll catch on pretty quickly and you'll be able to join us. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'et nasa v'chevso kol hazai melech shemo nikra. Hey, yatala da da da, yatala da 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 da, yatala da 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 da, yatala da da da, yatala da da da, yatala da 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 da. V'acharei higlot hakol levado yimlok Torah. Ve'hu haya, ve'hu hoveh, ve'hu yeh b'tzivara. Hey, yatala da da da, yatala da da da, yatala da 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 da, yatala da da da, yatala da da da, yatala da 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 da. Ve'hu echad ve'ein sheni, ve'hamshilo le'achvira. B'li reshit, b'li tachlit, v'lo haoz v'hamisra. Hey, yatala da da da, yatala da da da, yatala da 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 da, yatala da da da, yatala da da da, yatala da 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 da. V'hu eli, v'hai goali, v'tzur chevli, v'etzara. Unisi umanosli menat kosi beyomek. Hey, yatala da da da, yatala da da da, yatala da 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 da, yatala da da da, yatala da da da, yatala da 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 da. Beyado of kidruki, ve'eti shan ve'ahira. Imruki gaviati Adonai li Elohim. Hey, yatala da da da, yatala da da, yatala da 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 da, yatala da da da, yatala da da da, yatala da 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 da. It's pretty fast paced. You don't get much time to breathe during that particular song, but it is really nice. And we'll conclude with our prayer for health and well-being, the importance of wearing a mask, protecting our health and the health of those around us. Feel free to join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al shmirat hanefesh, for the mitzvah and sacred obligation to protect our life and the lives of others. Hope you enjoyed our Shabbat service. I'll be seeing all of you in 2 Fridays from now, and definitely enjoy Thanksgiving and the beginning of Hanukkah. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.
Thank you.